right, Dick, thank you very much. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships. Let's get ready to introduce our field for the singles competition taking place this morning. Bowlers, when your name is called, please head on up here the lanes. We'll start with the ladies. The number 5 seed from Sheboygan Falls, Melanie Hilbert.
All right, Melanie, let's go!
The number 4 seed from Kenosha Tremper, Rayanne Calsto. The number 3 seed from Kenosha Bradford, Stephanie Zagar. The number 2 seed from Kenosha Indian Trail, Autumn Morowski. And our number 1 seed advancing to our championship match from West Bend East, Mackenzie Phillips. Now let's introduce the boys. The number 5 seed from Appleton North, Luke Winter. Number 4 seed from Iola, Scandinavia, Robert Vader. The number 3 seed from Menominee Falls, Brendan Zimdar. Our number 2 seed from Kimberly, Christopher Richardson. And the number 1 seed advancing to the championship match from Omro, Ian Yost. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for all of our finalists this afternoon for the singles 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships. As mentioned, each of these bowlers will be receiving a scholarship donation of some amount today for competing in our finals this morning. The champion today will take home a $500 scholarship prize. Special thanks again today to Storm of the Bowlers Company, also H5G Apparel, and Pepsi. It's 8:30 in the morning. Let's all have a Pepsi.
welcome inside, ladies and gentlemen, the Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley here in Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin. I was just right outside of Green Bay. It's a pleasure to be back with you in this very bowling center. My name is Emil Williams Jr., and for the first time, I say welcome to Bowlstream TV, as things have changed a little bit, and we'll get into it. I want to welcome in Jesse Nelson from ESPN Madison as our singles finals are underway. Boys on 5 and 6, girls on 7 and 8. Here is Rayanne Causto to start. Ooh, and we'll take that. We'll take that early break, Jesse. And, man, I know you had a very busy weekend, my friend. So, first of all, thank you for coming this week. And I know you've done a lot of homework and looking forward to a lot of great bowling today.
Thanks, Emil. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here with you after spending so much time with Craig Elliott over the last few years. It's a wonder why I was invited back to join you for the broadcast as well. But it's a pleasure to be here with you. Looking forward to bringing you all the action here. Exciting high school bowling state championships. One of my favorite days of the year is Championship Sunday at the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships, because every year this doesn't disappoint. And it's a little different atmosphere this year. You're used to having wall-to-wall people in our bowling alleys. This year at Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley here just outside of Green Bay. But it's just an awesome day for bowlers at the highest level they may ever compete at here, with a chance this morning in the singles competition with scholarship money on the line. The winner of this singles competition takes home a $500 scholarship courtesy of Phil Laporte and the Wisconsin State USBC. So all the bowlers competing today will receive scholarship money of some donation variety, but again, that $500 scholarship top prize on the line today. And we get underway here with the singles competition. It is a stepladder final, 5 versus 4 going on right now. So on lanes 5 and 6, you can see the boys competition. We have the number 5 seed Luke Winter, a junior. Luke Winter out of Appleton North High School, the Lightning, where Luke Winter does his bowling, and he's taking on the number 4 seed Robert Vader, who is the defending singles state champion. And that's one of the unique things about this field here this year, Emil. We've got both the single state champions from a year ago returning to try and defend their titles. It's Robert Vader, the 4 seed from Iola, Scandinavia, the Thunderbirds, in the boys bracket. And then on the girls side, we have the number 3 seed Stephanie Zagar. She's a senior from Kenosha Bradford High School, and she's trying to defend her state title. So a chance to go back-to-back for 2 singles competitors here this year. So in our 5-4 matchup over on lanes 7 and 8 for the girls, we do have junior number 5 seed Melanie Hilbert from Sheboygan Falls High School competing, and she is on the lanes right now in that red, white, and blue uniform with the 10-pin, and she's able to knock that down for a spare here in frame number 2, and she's taking on the number 4 seed, stepping onto the lanes right now on lane 8, and that's Rayanne Causto, a sophomore from Kenosha Tremper High School. Tremper, one of the great programs in Wisconsin high school bowling over the last several years. And so we are super excited to see how these singles competitions play out throughout the course of this morning. It's an early morning, Emil, for all these high school students.
I tell you what, man, and I bowled early in the morning, but bowling was the only thing that I ever wanted to get up early to do, ever. If you said I had an 8 a.m. squad on bowling league or a tournament, I'll get up. But if you said I had an 8 a.m. class, nah, I'm sleeping in.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique set of circumstances here for all of our high school bowling competitors at the state championships. It's a long weekend. Many were here on Friday competing in the first round of the singles competition. As we see, obviously all the competitors here this morning were here on Friday for that squad. And then some of the teams competed on Friday evening. Most of the teams competed yesterday throughout the day, 15 qualifying games. And then last night we saw the stepladder semifinals for the team competition. A little different format this year. Usually we see the semifinals and the championship match on Sunday for the teams. This year, only the championship match is taking place here on Championship Sunday. So looking forward to seeing how it all plays out here throughout the course of the day. Obviously, unique circumstances in 2021, but we are looking forward to bringing the action all day from Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley here just outside of Green Bay in the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships.
It was a really nice shot from Robert Vader, the defending champion here in boys singles, two-handed righty. Had left a washout with the 8-pin a little bit earlier in the second frame, but looks to be back on track. And speaking of that, that is Rayanne Causto on track as well. So 2 out of 3 so far for Rayanne. And Miss Causto out of District 3A, home bowling center Sheridan Lanes, attending Trimper High School. Back to the boys.
Rayanne was part of the Tremper team that finished second in the Division I finals a year ago, a team that won it in both 2019 and 2018 before finishing as the runners-up 1 year ago. Rayanne, just a sophomore, so she was not part of those championship teams. We'll see if she's able to lead the Trojans at some point to a state title on the team side, but she's trying to win her own singles competition here this morning.
Melody Hilbert. Only playing them pretty far to the right. See the right-handed.
And this is tough for this 5-4 matchup, Emil, because you're always trying to figure out what this oil pattern is. It was limited practice on these lanes. The bowlers got some warm-ups on lanes outside of what they're bowling on right now. And so they come in, they get a little bit of practice, but you got to make quick adjustments in this format. Stepladder, and the competitor that wins this first match, I think, has a distinct advantage in the next couple of matches, but this first one, it's tough to figure out every time, and that's the way it is with any stepladder tournament, but especially here for high school students. Early morning, state championships, pressure, exciting, but also difficult.
You always hope that whoever can come out of the first match, no matter what seed they are, is going to feel confident moving forward based on their ball reaction that happens. So, you know, whoever's going to win is going to have a very good idea on, obviously, how the lanes may transition, where they need to move, and then, you know, the difficulty of the next player, the upcoming seed. That's the challenge for that particular player. So we'll see how it all plays out. Luke Winter, we've got two-handed righties in the boys match, and that was just 10 back.
That's a powerful shot from
right
Luke.
there. Nicely done.
I feel like he's found a pretty good line here early on. 3 of his first 4 frames resulting in strikes. That's a 69 in the third, working on a strike in the fourth for Luke Winter. Strikes are something he's familiar with, Emil. A 62% strike percentage on the season for Luke Winter, a junior competing today from Appleton North High School. I love the matchup between the boys here in the 5-4 because we've got Luke Winter for the Appleton North Lightning, and we've got Robert Vader from the Iola Scandinavia Thunderbirds. Storm has never been more proud of a sponsorship of a tournament when you've got the Lightning and the Thunder going at it in the boys' first round of the stepladder.
I would say it, bolts and stars for sure. Here's Vader.
Oh, and he was so good last year, Emil, as the winner of this competition. As just a sophomore, he won this whole singles competition last year, defeating Zach Burchakowski in the finals. And, you know, it's a little different year, and obviously the statistics this year are always a little off, and you don't know because everyone competed a little differently throughout the course of the year. He finished 7th in District 9 with an 84% fill percentage, but 62% strike. So when he's knocking them down, he's knocking them all down in one throw.
You know, you can just tell very heavy ball roll. When his ball hits the pins, there's generally not much of a chance for the 10 pin standing on the deck, and we have seen that thus far. Outside of that errant shot really in the second frame, Vader has looked very, very good. Had a chance to watch him just a little bit of the semifinals last night while I was setting up, and you can hear a lot of the fans, the spectators, those who were in the building talking about him because they remember what he did, obviously, last year.
Yeah, it was a fantastic run to win that singles competition 1 year ago in Wausau, at Dales Weston Lanes. And Vader with another strike there, a little fist pump with some emotion. This is a fun matchup here in this first stepladder semifinal between 4-seed Robert Vader and 5-seed Luke Winter. Rayanne Kelsto out on lane 7. It's a pretty good line, just a little bit light, leaves that 7 pin. And the single pin spare is so important, trying to come across the lane, and in a match like this, got to come up with single pin spares. Rayanne Kelsto definitely familiar with doing just that. 6th in District 3A with an 80% fill percentage on the season. Big throw for Luke Winter over on lane 6. And he leaves the 4 pin, trying to pick that one up. Rayanne coming across the lane. That's a good spare. It remains clean in this first match of the girls' stepladder finals. Let's see if Luke Winter can pick up that spare. You bet he can. Nicely done for Luke. Just narrowly made the cut here to get to this stepladder final. Luke Winter, the junior from Appleton North High School, finished with a total pin count of 1294 through his 6 games of qualifying. the 2 or 3 players behind him, we had Trey Henriksmeyer from Eau Claire North with 1293. He made the cut by 1 pin. And then Jacob Madison and Ethan Jones from Onalaska and Janesville Parker, respectively, each finished with a pin count of 1292. They were just 2 pins off from being the 5 seed. So competitive, so tight, down to every pin. Think about any split that these guys faced during those 6 games of qualifying, where you take 2 and smile instead of just 1 trying to go for it. That could have been the difference in this competition and being able to bowl here on Sunday morning. And Luke Winter trying to make the most of it. Off to a very solid start here in the boys stepladder final. Robert Vader about to step up on the approach, the reigning champion, Division 1. Or excuse me, the boys single state championships from a year ago. Welcoming everybody watching on Bowl Stream TV today. My name is Jesse Nelson from ESPN Wisconsin.
All right.
And it's my pleasure to be here with Emil Williams.
I appreciate you, my man. Let me take a couple gathers, ask a few questions, and I'm back.
Melanie Hilbert, that's a good ball over on lane 7. Melanie Hilbert crushing it. It's now back-to-back strikes for her into the 5th frame. How about Robert Vader over on 6? Crowd cheering him on, saying turn as it gets late down the lane, and he leaves that 10 pin.
Yeah.
It's a tough break. Looked like a pretty good ball.
It was, and you can see there was a messenger that was stopped by another pin. I was set to come out of that left gutter, and then a little wide right on the other side by Rayanne. Pretty close match here.
And Rayanne Kalsto with an overall pin count of 1263 in her 6 games of qualifying, a 640 in the original qualifying 3 games on Friday, a 623 in her 2nd trifecta last night. Her teammate Autumn Talbot finished 3rd in fill percentage in her district. That's District 3A. But it is Rayanne, the sophomore, making the appearance here in the stepladder finals on Championship Sunday. And she completes that spare. It remains clean through 5 frames for both bowlers in the girls' first match, the stepladder final.
Competitors are bowling Kegel Challenge Series middle of the road, 45-foot pattern. 23.45 milliliters of oil, so not too heavy on the volume. So you can see the friction and why a lot of the players are actually able to play right.
And ran a little too far right, though, on this throw as it misses the head pin. She leaves 3 in the middle. And that could be a break that Melanie Hilbert's looking to take advantage of now.
Wow.
As she's working on a double here into frame 6, or frame 7, excuse me. And she's actually got 3 in a row coming into frame 7.
So every time I've watched Robert Vader so far, I just want to say big bad Vader every single time, but I don't know if he knows who Vader is from the wrestling world. I'm going to have to ask him about that.
And I'm thinking Star Wars, so, you know,
Right,
that's
so.
just me.
Well, here we go. I mean, you know where I lie. I'm old school WWF. You're a little Star Wars action.
I'm a Star Wars nerd. You can call me what I am.
And I'm just getting into Star Wars myself. So, how about Luke Winter? Bang.
LaForce with Luke on this one. How about
Indeed.
that? 7 frame strike. He's got a double. And 3 frames left in the boys' first match of the stepladder final. And it's a tight one between Luke Winter and Robert Vader. Luke Winter working on a double heading into frame 8 as he'll take the approach on lane 5. Robert Vader had an open frame in frame 2. He's coming off a strike working with a 123 out of the 6th frame. Melanie Hilbert over on lane 8, directing the ball right into the pocket, and that came in with some force. And I love that shot from Melanie Hilbert.
Yeah, she asked it to lay off, and it did just that. And you can see both players in this match playing further to the right, and of course our two-handed righties playing probably an arrow and a half or so left, but still trying to get it from a breakpoint perspective down lane to about the same spot. And they're both pretty locked in. I think right now the difference between Vader and Winter is going to be late frame execution and probably carry as well.
We'll see how Melanie Hilbert fares here on lane number 7, working on 4 in a row. Over that first arrow, comes right in, and the fans right behind us love it, Emil. Oh, that's 5 in a row. for Melanie Hilbert, the junior from Sheboygan Falls. In the driver's seat here with just a couple of frames left in stepladder final number 1. Robert Vader asking for it as it came a little high, but he gets all 10 down, and that's a much-needed strike, 2 in a row for Vader to stay alive and try and defend his boys singles state championship.
Yep, and a much-needed break, too. I think he knew it was left off his hand, asked for it to lay off a little bit, got the excellent carry. That's what we're talking about. You need breaks when you, want to win titles, want to win matches, and in a very close match like this where both players are lined up and seem to have a very good eye on the pocket, is going to come down to breaks and carry.
We see Rayanne Calsto over on lane 8. Left a 10-pin in the corner here. Rayanne, the only sophomore competing in our stepladder finals here today. A few juniors, a lot of seniors, but Rayanne, the only sophomore. She converts on the 10-pin spare there. Rayanne remains clean throughout this match with 2 frames to go.
For Rayanne right now, 212. Max score as we look at Vader.
He needs a strike. Oh, he got it. Of course he did. What a talented bowler Robert Vader is. 13-16. His total pin count in his 6 games of qualifying. He had a 678 on Friday in his first 3. 638 yesterday in the second round of qualifying. And again, he is the defending champ in this competition, and he's a junior. He gets a chance to come back next year and try and win it again. Of course, he's got his eyes set on other things today before we start thinking about next year.
Well, Luke's still in the lead. It's his to lose.
Uh-oh.
And there's my first broadcaster jinx on Boldstream TV.
Welcome, Emil. Good to have you.
I am very good at that, by the way. Wow, not what certainly he's looking for there. Makeable, of course, 210. You're looking to, slide the ball to the left of the 2 and hopefully angle it right off the 10 pin there to make the spare. And continuing in control here is Melanie Hilbert. We'll take you back to Luke Spare in just a second.
Melanie working on 5 in a row over here on lane 8. Out asking for some carry. Messenger from the right side didn't quite get over. Got a little detracted on the back end, but that's a makeable spare coming across the lane. And if she can make that one, she'll still be in good shape heading into the 10th frame.
Yeah, for Melanie right now, it's just remain clean.
How about Luke? Oh, he had a chance at it. Oh, and it almost popped up out of the gutter to get it. That was as good a run at that spare as you could have made. Luke Winter.
Well,
that's an open in the 9th with a 195 now. And Emil, that's an opening for the defending champ Robert Vader to go ahead and win this thing.
100% max score for Luke now, 225. If he can strike out, he will force a couple of very good shots needed from Robert Vader in the 10th frame. Take you back to Melanie and her 10-pin spare attempt.
And she uses the plastic ball to come across right at it, straight on. No movement, just goes right at it and gets it on a line.
And so for Melanie, just really 5 pins at this point. Actually, no, this one, 5 pins. 6 pins, really, a couple of shots as Luke. First one in the 10th is a very good one.
It's a nice bounce back strike for Luke Winter over there, coming off of that open frame, his first open frame in this entire stepladder match, and he's able to come back and put the pressure back on Robert Vader by picking up that strike.
Absolutely. Even more important, really, it still lets Robert Vader know that he's going to have to step up and perform in the 10th frame. Hilbert just needs good count, and she will be advancing in the girls' single stepladder finals.
Keep it on the lane right in the middle. That's a 7 count, and that should be enough. Melanie Hilbert, the 5 seed of Sheboygan Falls. Looks like she's moving on to face the defending girls singles state champion, Stephanie Zagar of Kenosha Bradford. Luke Winter, that's a tough one in his second ball in the 10th frame over on lane 5. It's a 6 count. 1, 2, 4, 10. Makeable, and he's going to need every pin he can get here in the final ball of his match. Melanie Hilbert looking to complete that spare over on lane 7. She does so. It's a clean game for Melanie Hilbert, Sheboygan Falls. Yeah, Luke Winter got 3 of the 4.
Hey, he gave it a run.
That was close. It's a final count of 2-14. 2-14 for Luke Winter. Very solid performance. Out of the gates here in the Stepladder final for the Wisconsin High School Bowling Club Singles State Championships.
Well, right now, for, of course, as we watch Melanie finish things out. By the way, Melanie, we'll talk about her, obviously, as we continue the next match. 2018 Junior Gold U15 finished 3rd place. And for those of you obviously familiar with Junior Gold, that's a pretty big accomplishment right there. 230 for Melanie.
Excellent game out of the gates for Melanie Hilbert. All right, Robert Vader, the defending champ, looking for it. Got one. Oh. He wanted that one, and he got it with a big, exuberant fist pump after he completes the first strike. That's now 4 in a row for Robert Vader, Viola, Scandinavia. And Emil, thanks to that strike, Robert Vader, I think, is going to be moving on.
Yeah, he just needed the first one in the 10th, or mark really of any kind at that point, and he was going to be advancing. And you saw the emotion and how important that was.
Vader's second. Now you're also, in addition to throwing the rest of this game, keeping it on the lane, you're also thinking about where's your line for the next game. No practice in between for the competitors moving on.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think he's already made a move left just to try to figure that out.
Rayanne Calsto wrapping up final ball over on lane 8. It's a 9 count for a total of 191. 5th place finish at state as a sophomore for Rayanne Calsto. A lot to be proud of for the sophomore from Kenosha-Tremper High School. She'll be back for sure. One of the powerhouses in Wisconsin high school bowling, Kenosha-Tremper, and Rayanne Calsto, one of the great young faces of it.
Very, very impressed by her game as well. I'm a big fan of kind of simple, fluid as well, and I thought both competitors in our first girls match demonstrated just that.
Vader finishes with a 229, converting his spare there. So 229 to 214. Robert Vader, the defending boys singles state champion from 2020 from Iola, Scandinavia. The Thunder beats the Lightning as the Thunderbird of Iola, Scandinavia, Robert Vader, advances.
I think you really like saying that.
This is my last chance to say it. I gotta. He defeats Luke Winter of Appleton North. Luke Winter will take home $100 in scholarship money for his 5th place finish here in the state tournament. He'll have a chance to come back next year. Luke's a junior, so he'll be a senior competing for Appleton North next year. And again, Luke, he just barely made the cut as a 1294 total pin count. 3 bowlers behind him, 1293, 1292, 1292. He just got in, and he finishes 5th place at the state tournament. To be here on Championship Sunday in the Stepladder Finals, Emil, that is an awesome accomplishment for Luke Winter.
I was going to say, you hit the nail right on the head. I watched him as the announcements were made on who was going to advance last night. And that anticipation where you're waiting to hear your name called, and then finally, he heard his name, and just the emotions that went, that shot through him, and then his coaches and everyone else around him at that point in time, all able to celebrate in that particular moment. So I certainly hope Luke will be back, and I hope to be back to see him. While we have a moment, I want to thank my main man, Craig Elliott. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast my debut on Bowlstream TV. Those of you obviously very familiar with Craig and Bowlstream TV, he decided to step away for. I don't think he's out. I don't think he's out for sure, or all the way through. And I know he's watching, and we'll be back at it. He'll be back at it at some point. But I want to thank Craig today. Today he told me it was the first time he's actually going to watch Bowlstream TV, which. It hit me. I was like, well, that makes sense. Obviously, he's used to hitting the buttons to go live instead of, sitting back and watching. So, Craig, I appreciate you. We certainly hope we will do you proud. And my goals, I've told you all about it, and look forward to just taking it to additional heights. I want to thank Yvonne Bennett as well, who is not here, of course. But I appreciate her for continuing the relationship and allowing me to be here. I appreciate Jesse as well. First thing Craig told me when we talked about this event was lean on Jesse. He knows all about Wisconsin high school bowling. And through one match, he is 100% correct. There are a few names that I did recognize. Stephanie Zagar is one, actually. I called a recent Elite Youth Tour event in the Chicagoland area, which she came up and was a champion in the U20 girls division. I've seen her before as well. But, yeah, so nonetheless, speaking of Stephanie Zagar, Jesse, what else you got on it?
Yeah, fantastic senior from Kenosha Bradford. The Red Devils represented well. Actually, the entire city of Kenosha is represented well here in this girls stepladder final today, Emil. We saw Rayanne Castro from Kenosha Tremper. We see Stephanie Zagar, the defending singles state champion for the girls from Kenosha Bradford. And then waiting in the wings as the number 2 seed is Autumn Morosky, and she's from Kenosha Indian Trail. So 3 different high schools from that southern city in Wisconsin, Kenosha, represented here on Championship Sunday in the girls' stepladder final. But Stephanie Zagar, just a fantastic senior bowler. You mentioned some of the accomplishments, Emil, that you've seen from her across numerous tournaments. She's the defending champion here in Wisconsin High School Bowling's girls' singles competition, defeating Cassie Prill last year in the 2020 finals. She was tied for first in her district, 3A, with an 86% fill percentage on this season, which is, again, anything over 85%, you start to think that starts to be the elite territory for high school bowling. And Stephanie's right there. And, of course, her team really good as well. The defending state runner-up after winning back-to-back state championships her freshman and sophomore year. So that's Stephanie Zagar, the number 3 seed from Kenosha Bradford, taking on the 5 seed Melanie Hilbert of the Sheboygan Falls Falcons. That'll be our match on lane 7 and 8. Meanwhile, I want to introduce you to Brendan Zimdars as well. He's also a senior as the number 3 seed from Menominee Falls High School. Taking his warm-ups, actually just completed over on lanes 5 and 6. Brendan Zimdars, this is a fun fact about him, Emil. So he is doing the absolute most bowling that you can do at the singles, or at the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships this weekend. So obviously the 15 games of team qualifying.
Sure.
His team was the number 5 seed last night.
Okay.
They won the 5-4 match. They won the 4-3 match. They won the match against the 2 seed. So they played in every team stepladder final. His team will play later today for its state championship. And he bowled the 6 games of qualifying for the singles competition. And then now here he is again as the number 3 seed here in this championship today. There is no one doing more bowling at Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley this weekend than Brendan Zimdars. And they got the storm doubles down on the other end. I'm not sure if he's going to be in that later, too.
I feel like if he could, he'd probably go bowl it right now.
So here's Zimdars over on lane 5, getting this next step ladder underway. And that messenger just didn't take out the 10 pin in the corner. Well, that's how it gets underway for Brendan Zimdars, and it's a similar story for Stephanie Zagar over on lane 7. She leaves a ringing 10 pin on her first ball as stepladder match number 2 is underway. It's the 5 seed Melanie Hilbert, the 3 seed Stephanie Zagar. Stephanie, the defending state champion, and this is a pretty unique and awesome moment here, Emil, as we're going to see both of the defending single state champions on the lanes at the same time. Brendan Zimdars of Menominee Falls completes his spare, and now here is the boys defending single state champion from 2020, junior Robert Vader of Viola, Scandinavia.
And, you know, that's something that really doesn't happen too often. Rarely, it's hard, first and foremost, to even get back to try to defend a title, and then let alone have both the champions in boys and girls divisions to be here and looking to repeat as well.
It is so difficult, Emil, and there's so much bowling that goes on this weekend. It's not just the singles competition with 6 overall games of qualifying, 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. That's your standard 30 frames individual, but then the 15 games of the team competition, not to mention if your team qualifies for that stepladder semifinal where you're competing on Saturday night. That's after your singles round 2. I mean, that's so much bowling for some of these competitors to try and get in one weekend, and it's probably, if not the most, some of the most that they will ever do in a single weekend. So it's really challenging, and it requires a lot of admiration from us watching these competitors bowl so well.
100%. Appreciate everyone who is watching, obviously, on Bowlstream TV, folks. First time I'm going to say it for Bowlstream TV, smash the thumbs up and definitely subscribe to Bowlstream TV. I certainly would appreciate it. And I'll get a couple of hellos in 1 second. Vader.
Smash the thumbs up.
Smash
I love
it.
that. Oh, speaking of smashing, that was nice. That's a double to start for Robert Vader. And he gets a little high five in the back end of the lanes here from the other defending champ, Stephanie Zagar.
You know, I think about Kenosha, and you know, for whatever reason, every time I've been to Kenosha, I'm thinking back to my youth bowling days. Always a lot of great youth bowlers from that area. Derek Hartnell immediately comes to mind. Someone I spent a lot of time with bowling against collegiately and other youth events as well.
And I think of Melvin Gordon and the Mars Cheese Castle, but you know what? To each their own.
Well, you're staying on brand, Madison. I see you. I see you.
Melanie Hilbert had an open frame in frame number 1 on lane 8, and then comes back with a 9 count, leaving the 10 pin over on lane 7. And this is one of the tough things here, Emil. Well, Robert Vader did a great job just getting a double right out of the gates, but usually when you're starting the second round, the lanes start to wear down a little bit. You figure out that lane in your first step ladder match. Now you got to make the adjustment as that oil starts to break down. For the bowlers coming in fresh, they don't know anything previous, so they're not making necessarily that adjustment. They're just learning what it is to start.
Yeah, when you're new to the pair, you know, I think for me, in my opinion, the best thing that you can hope for is to get to the pocket, leave something makeable if you don't strike. So that way you can kind of maintain that confidence level. I think obviously the worst case scenario is if you were to open in some capacity.
And that's what we did see in frame number 1.
Nice shot.
Zimdar's feeling it now. He had a 9 count in frame number 1, but back-to-back strikes now for the senior from Menominee Falls High School, Brendan Zimdars. Stephanie Zagar, the defending girls state champion, on lane 8 with a strike. Spare in the first frame, strike in the second. Stephanie will come back on lane 7, trying to double up. And here we are, both of the defending champs right next to each other as they take the approach. First up, Robert Vader, working on 2 in a row into frame 3 on lane 6. Two-handed delivery. Oh, he's found a line, Emil. He is dangerous when he finds a line like that.
I tell you what, he's going to make some collegiate coach very happy. And as is Stephanie Zagar. I was talking to Mom, says she's got a few schools that she is looking at, but she too is going to make a collegiate coach very excited. And I think her personal coach and coach is already watching. I saw Barbara Spigner. That means Bill's watching as well. Hello to the Spigners. Great family, of course. If you know the Spigners, you know how much they have done for bowling, and certainly even in the state of Illinois as well. Longtime proprietors in Vernon Hills. Appreciate everyone. All right, back to Vader.
I wish her coaches would have been able to do something about sending that messenger over to take out that 10 pin on that last strike ball. That was a great ball delivered by Stephanie, and that messenger just went right in front of that 10 pin. So now she's got to deliver this spare, which she does ever so perfectly.
Jesse, let me ask you a question. I've watched Robert Vader now for a game, or 16 frames, or 14, excuse me. You can tell instantly, at least to me, when someone's bowling ball, the way it hits the pocket, the way it attacks the pocket, his ball is on another level as far as what it does when it gets to the pocket.
Yeah, it's similar, Emil. When you're watching a baseball game, Zimdars of Menominee Falls gets it, the crack of the bat.
Yes.
Exactly. You can tell just the way that it hits. Like, off the bat, you can tell when someone's going to knock it out of the park and hit a home run. You can tell on these lanes when that ball hits the pocket just perfectly, and you get that little crack of the pins. Oh, it's just perfect. And you can tell that that's when you're on. And you feel that as a bowler, too. You feel that momentum going, and you play with the crowd a little bit as they get into it, as they see you string a few together. That's all part of the experience here, bowling in front of the most people that are probably ever going to be watching you in a high school state championship. Zimdar's over on 5. Oh, that's a tough break right down the middle.
That's the one. It's the one I like to call S4. And you can see the 4, the circle around on the scoreboard. It's, certainly makeable, but obviously not ideal. And let's see who is going to go first. It's going to be Melanie to go first, and we'll see how Brendan can handle that spare. His ball is very ferocious when it hits the pocket as well. And maybe a touch left. It is.
Yeah, I was a little inside for Melanie. She was coming off a strike looking to double up. Instead, she's got double wood here on the right side. 8 count in frame number 4. And
this could be the opening that Vader needs. He only needs a little slice of an opening.
Well, and that's the intimidation. When you're up against the defending champ, you know the kind of history that he is coming in with, and you know how good he can be in this competition. When you see he's got 4 in a row, maybe Brendan starts to know, okay, if I don't go strike for strike with him, I'm going to run into a little trouble.
Yeah, you certainly get to a point, and I tell you, if he strikes here, and he's shown a little bit of emotion, and I don't know him yet to say how much emotion he might show, but he might give us a little something.
Oh, this one comes up high,
wow.
and that's going to be an opening for Brendan Zimdars to remain in this competition.
And it was the emotion that he was not looking to exalt, the emotion of disappointment with the 4-6 there. Looks like he definitely got that one in a little bit. It's a pretty tough spare for a right-hander, this 3-9.
Right on it, though. That's a nice spare for Melanie Hilbert on lane 7.
Probably just tough for me.
Believe me, Emil, it's not just you. Vader got to get 1. He does. And that's where you take your 1. That's the 5th frame. You still got plenty of time.
And I believe we may have our first indication of a foul called.
Oh.
Our foul official is down on lane, what's that, 12? Maybe 11, right at the gutter cap. And so there is a physical person, much like a TV show. And for those of you who obviously watched a lot of bowling TV shows before, as we await to see what's going to happen with the girls, we'll watch Robert Vader. What you don't see on television is the foul line official just off to the right on TV, and same situation here.
Well, we wait to figure that out. Stephanie Zagar takes the approach on 8. Vader with a 9 count, leaving a 10 pin over on 5. Stephanie seems to be figuring out a line here. That's a good ball over on lane 8, and she'll finish the match on that lane, Emil, and that's important because she has struck in each of her first 2 shot attempts on lane 8. When Stephanie finds a line, she'll hammer it home. Obviously proven as the winner of the girls' championship a year ago.
Talked about collegiate bowling and schools certainly being interested.
Hey, Emil, if our viewers couldn't hear that at home, the foul judge said that the foul occurred on the spare for Melanie Hilbert, so that will be assessed as a 0 count in the 4th frame instead of the spare as originally indicated.
So it'll be 8 out in the 4th. This boys match, of course, continuing on. Big shot here, Zimdars. Liked it. Bang! Oh, he liked it off his hand. You see the emotion.
You know, Emil, when I bowled 10 years ago, Menominee Falls was one of the powerhouses in southeast Wisconsin. We always hated going up against Falls. They were loud. They were always, they looked like they were a bunch of football players that were always on the bowling team, and they were an intimidating team to go up against. They've got a great home center. It was just a real tough draw every time you had to face Menominee Falls. I was shocked when I looked at the winners from the last 3 years, and neither team nor singles competition featured anybody from Menominee Falls. That surprised me. So it's no surprise that they've got a great one here in Brendan Zimdars, a senior trying to close out his high school bowling career with a potential singles state championship. And take a look at this. He's got 2 in a row now. After that open frame in the 5th, he bounces back so well on that lane where he threw that 4 count in the 5th frame. He gets back-to-back strikes. Zimdar setting up nicely, still with a chance to take down the defending champ, Robert Vader.
Official score now has been changed for Melanie Hilbert in the 4th, so that opened. Now with 55 in the 4th, she did leave a 10 pin, as we can see here. She threw a very good shot after the foul, and so just good for her from the mental capacity of, all right, nothing's wrong here. Let's just get back into my routine and continue to do what we do.
Credit Melanie Hilbert over on lane 8, completing that strike with a single pin, 10 pin, coming off with where you foul. I mean, I always like to share this, Emil. My last shot in a singles competition in high school bowling my senior year was a foul.
Oh, good
Only
Lord.
time I ever fouled in my entire high school bowling career was my final shot in singles competition.
Don't tell anybody else that.
Too late. I think I tell that story every year on this broadcast, but
Now I'm going to use it to my advantage.
Credit Melanie for coming back after that violation. You have another spare situation, and right away she's able to knock it down, and it keeps her in this match. Let's see how she bounces back now over on lane 7. That's a good ball and a strike. Oh, yeah. Melanie Hilbert, the 5 seed of Sheboygan Falls, still in this, Emil.
That's what you call just 2 quality frames. And again, you know, forgetting about the foul situation. And for her, she made the spare. So I think she saw it go down, and it's like, well, obviously, you know, the foul judge saw something a little bit different. It doesn't mean that she did anything wrong. Obviously, the scoreboard is going to say something different. But from her personal process, I think she was able to kind of continue on and get back to what she had been doing. Meanwhile, Stephanie Zagar is continuing what she has been doing as well, and that's strike.
3 in a row for Stephanie Zagar, the defending girls state champion. Strikes in the 4th, 5th, and 6th frame. She is the only bowler on the lanes right now that is clean here in this second stepladder final match. The boys are in frame 8, the girls are in frame 7. Defending boys champ Robert Vader of Iola, Scandinavia on the approach. Coming off of 2 spares. Let's see Vader come back here. And that one's a little high on the head pin. Gets a good break with a 9 count, leaving just the 4 pin on the left side.
Yeah, nearly a 4-9, and that one was a little right for Stephanie Zagar.
Boy, somebody want to go check the 7 pin over here on lane 7? That thing will not shoot across the lane to help take out that 10. Oh.
Is it getting blocked? Every time it wants to come, it's almost like the head pin is coming over and saying, nope, not today.
Somebody got a little glue down on that 10 pin over there. Thing will not go down. Vader needs the spare. Of course, he's got it.
Saw the spare off to the left of your screen for Robert Vader.
He's got an 84% fill percentage on the year. I mentioned earlier, 62% strike percentage. That's one place where Brendan Zimdars does have a bit of an advantage over Vader. His fill percentage, 91% on the year. 3rd best in the powerhouse that is District 1 high school bowling. So 91% fill. You're thinking you got to be one of the best in the state. He's the 3rd best in his own district.
One of the things that I've admired about recent collegiate bowling is the advent or inclusion of additional stats. And I don't know where it started. I don't know if it started at the collegiate level and maybe trickled down to high school or vice versa. But, you know, stats like fill percentage, strike percentage is generally one that's always kind of kept. But fill percentage, and then they get into Baker as well. It just helps draw a better picture or a more sharper picture for the viewer as well.
And it's our pleasure to bring you some of that information as we continue on here with the state championships. Oh, big reaction from the fans here from Melanie Hilbert, who's got 2 strikes in a row now. Oh, no, Brendan Zimdars had double wood on the left side, and he only got the front one. That's an open frame in the 8th. So he's got a 156 working on an open heading into frame 9. And Robert Vader has a spare in the 8th, had a 152 in the 7th. If he strikes, that's a 172. So as you're doing the math here, Zimdars basically needs a strike here in frame number 9 in order to set himself up to have an opportunity to advance. Zimdars gets right back at it. Lane 5 needs a good one. Goes left of the head pin, leaves 2 on the right side.
Heard someone in the back say he tugged it a little bit and stood up on it, and it did look like he wasn't able to quite post that shot. And generally speaking, just from a general bowling term, if you can post it, more than likely it's going to be a good shot. Oh boy, how about that break from Melanie Hilbert, and she is not out of it.
We used to have a rule at Muskego High School, Emil, never complain about a strike. And Melanie has thrown better strikes in her career, but she will take that one in a heartbeat for 3 in a row against the defending champ, Stephanie Zagar. And Melanie Hilbert now in a position, it's for sure going to be a competitive finish in the girls' second stepladder final match. Zimdars open in the 9th frame over on 5. Only got one of those 2 pins that he had left. Stephanie Zagar, lane 8, strike. All right, Emil, this is where I need help with math, because Stephanie Zagar's got a 159 in the 7th, working on a strike in the 8th. She's going to go back on lane 7 here, trying to double up. Robert Vader with a strike is in a great position.
Oh,
And is he going to get that messenger? Nope.
that
So a
was
9 count.
huge right there.
And Zimdars is still alive.
This is a must-have spare right here for Vader, and something he's done, I'm sure, 1,000 times before. Out of Zagar, max score right now for Stephanie, 249.
That looks like a good ball. Yeah, Stephanie has figured it out over there on lane 7. That's a great ball for Stephanie Zagar. Emil, this is the most nerve-wracking shot in bowling for me. It's not when you're working on a perfect game or anything like that. It's the single pin, 10-pin spare in a pivotal junction with a lot on the line.
I'll tell you what, and you're not the only person to have said that in the history of this great sport. And I really mean that. And, you know, we've seen great players, great professionals have to step up in the 10th. Norm Duke, for example, making a bucket to win the U.S. Open. I mean, listen, that's why he's one of the greatest of all time. Because if you put anyone else, perhaps, with a bucket in front of him to win the U.S. Open, I'm not sure the result is going to be the same.
I might put Robert Vader up against anybody the way that he tends to bowl at these championships.
I'll tell you what, he is impressing me thus far. Hilbert needs this one to stay alive.
Come on, ball!
Bang! Boy, what a shot that was. So her max score 225. And
boy, this is down to the wire.
She's going to need them all to force, obviously, to continue to put that pressure on Zagar and to potentially force an open.
It's max 249 for Stephanie if she's able to strike out.
And that'll do it. Robert Vader is going to advance. Continues his repeat chase of the boys singles championship at the Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships. He had to work hard for that one. This match a little different than his match with Luke Winter. He started strong. And then was it 4-6 in the 5th frame and then a couple of errant shots, but he was able to leave stuff that's makeable. And that's one of the things. If you can leave something makeable, you still give yourself a chance to win.
Couple of opens for Brendan Zimdars in frames 8 and 9. Uncharacteristic for a guy with 91% fill on the year, but still a great senior year for Zimdars, and he's not done today. Brendan Zimdars will be back for the boys Division I team championship later today with the 5-seed Menominee Falls. They will be in action, taking on McGuanago with a chance for a Division I boys team championship. So Brendan Zimdars a little frustrated as he sees that it's over, and he'll get one final chance to go on the lanes and
well, I mean, you
finish as
mentioned
best he can.
You said it, Jesse. You know, not everyone's going to get the chance to win 2 state championships in one day. So you obviously you're disappointed, and you know obviously probably love to have a couple of shots back, but now he gets to finish this thing out. Congratulate Robert in his quest, but then get ready for the team competition where he can help his team in that regard.
Gosh, I can't wait for that Division I team championship later in the boys. As Melanie Hilbert gets the big spare in the 10th frame. So she's got a max 214, or correction, 204 here. Robert Vader over on lane 5. He's already got 2 in a row. Why not finish it with 3? That's what champs do. 221.
And I think for Vader, it's just continuing to think about moves ahead of time. You know, he's going to now come into his 3rd match. And for him, it looks like he's only going to move further left. So I think thinking about the various angles and things he can do with his hands, or his hand in that regard, he needs to continue to get the ball down the lane. We've seen when he's missed right, that's where he's run into trouble. And it looks like that's the same for everyone. If you miss right early on this pattern, it's going to be a washout. You will miss the head pin to the right. You haven't seen any lefties bowl yet. And so that's what it's looking like on the right side of the lane at the moment.
It's a 201 for Melanie Hilbert. Stephanie Zagar, the defending girls state champ. Keep it on the lane. She's in good shape. She does just that with a 9 count, and that's enough.
That'll do it.
Both of the defending champs will move on and still have chances to defend their singles state crowns. That will not count, so it hit the gutter first for Zimdar. So that'll finish as a 184. 4th place finish for Brendan Zimdars. $200 in scholarship money coming his way, courtesy of the Wisconsin State USBC and Phil Laporte.
Yeah, big shout out to Phil. I was talking to Roger a little bit earlier before the broadcast, and Phil's involvement, and anytime youth players can earn scholarships, obviously to help them at the next level is an excellent situation, and we thank Phil for his generosity and his contributions.
Yeah, it's an awesome thing that they do, awarding all this scholarship money to these great bowlers having chances to earn some college opportunities with all this scholarship money. So special thanks to the Wisconsin USBC and Phil Laporte for what they do. Stephanie Zagar ramping up here on lane 8. Finishes with a powerful strike for a 228. Both the defending champs move on. Stephanie Zagar of Kenosha Bradford, the number 3 seed, moves on. She will face crosstown rival from Kenosha Indian Trail, number 2 seed, Autumn Morosky, in the semifinal for the girls state championship. The number 3 seed, Stephanie Zagar, the defending champ, and the number 2 seed, Autumn Morosky, for the girls. Meanwhile, on the boys' side, Emil, it's going to be the number 2 seed, Christopher Richardson of Kimberly, waiting here. He'll take on the defending boys state champion, Robert Vader of Iola, Scandinavia. Vader bowling 2 games already, putting up scores of 229 and 221, entering this semifinal. Leading into the championship match, waiting in the wings, the number 1 seeds from West Bend East, Mackenzie Phillips for the girls. Number 1 qualifier with an overall score of 1339 in her 6 qualifying games, including a 739 series on Friday in her qualifying round. She's the number 1 seed. And senior Ian Yost of Omro is waiting as the number 1 seed for the boys. He had a 708 in qualifying Friday, a 648 in round 2 for a grand total pin count of 1356 over his 6 qualifying games. So a couple of seniors waiting as the number 1 seeds. It's junior Robert Vader and senior Stephanie Zagar moving on to face senior Autumn Morosky and senior Christopher Richardson here at the Wisconsin High School Bowling State Championships. Emil, we've got a special guest.
We do. Appreciate that breakdown. There's a timer, by the way, on this selfie that Diana Z is posting right now. I was not prepared for that. I was smiling under my mask, but then I saw the timer hit 5, and I'm like, what's happening here? Anyway, Emil Williams Jr., Jesse Nelson, and pleased to be joined now by PWBA champion, 2-time Queens champion. Hold on. Diana Zavjalova.
Woo! Hi, everyone. Hi, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
I see the energy drinks have kicked in since we saw you at the start of the competition
Yes,
today.
I had coffee, and I'm working on my Monster now, so I'm bouncing out the walls. So if you guys don't understand me, I'm sorry.
Oh, we understand you just fine.
It's fantastic.
First of all, DZ, it's great to see you.
Yeah, it's very nice to see you, too.
It's been over a year plus at this point
way
since we've
too
seen one
long.
another.
Way
And
too long.
so, shout out to Storm for having you out. And
Yes.
what's your experience been like thus far? A lot of great bowling, obviously. And I know you got a chance to interact with a lot of the players this week as well.
Yeah, definitely thanks to Storm. I mean, it's amazing what they do for the youth kids and just the whole bowling community. It's been a great experience. I got here, oh my goodness, what day is it today?
Today's
Sunday. So I got here on Friday afternoon. So I've been watching all weekend, and it's been great. I'm very eager to get back on the lanes because I prefer to bowl, you know? So I'm just watching them, and I see all this talent. I'm like, oh, my God, like, put me in, coach. Like, I want to bowl. So, and, like, I love that I'm here watching this finals because the talent I'm seeing, it's just unbelievable. And shout out to everyone that's bowling well. My heart goes out to Melanie because I was just talking to somebody, and I saw something in her that actually, she reminds me of me when I was 16. So I had like this little like connection with her. So I was like secretly rooting for her. But she bowled really, really good. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what happens now.
Diana, as you see all of these young high school bowlers competing here, one of the international stars of the PWBA Tour, what was your experience as a youth bowler? And like what led you to the stage that you're on now as one of the best in the business at what you do?
Yeah, so bowling in Europe and Asia is very, very different than the United States. So, and I don't know if I want to say unfortunately or fortunately, but I was born in a country where bowling didn't really exist. So, and then people ask me like, well, how did you even turn pro? You know, so it's a very like weird question. So my dad, he bowled a little bit just for fun. He had one bowling ball and he bowled league, and I was 10 at the time, and I was doing many different sports at the same time because I just wanted to be an athlete and all that. So, and he brought me with him to the bowling center, and I threw the ball, and I'm like, oh, this is really fun, but it's challenging at the same time, and I like challenge. And I was skateboarding in the same time. I was dancing, playing tennis, like all kinds of stuff. And so I was very fortunate that coach from Australia and Venezuela, they came to my country to start a bowling program because they were coaching other countries in Asia and stuff. So, so they started a program, and I was like the first generation of the bowlers, really. And they were like, oh, yeah, you have so much talent, you could be a superstar one day. And I'm like, okay, I want to be a superstar. So I just, started working hard. And we don't have college or high school bowling in Europe. So this is amazing to me. So I hope these kids enjoy this because they don't have it anywhere else but the United States.
It's unfortunate that you had to be here, obviously, in a pandemic-ridden year where it's limited fan attendance. Usually on Championship Sunday in this building, it is wall-to-wall people.
Yeah,
you
that's what I heard.
You can't leave the broadcast booth. You're able to walk around here and kind of have some elbow room. Usually that's not the case. It is.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And it's loud. It's extraordinary atmosphere.
And I'll be honest, I'm slightly disappointed about that as well because I was looking forward to seeing that atmosphere. I feel that we see that often from a collegiate perspective, but I know even at the high school level, it sometimes can be a bit more than what you see even at the collegiate level. And obviously, you've seen several collegiate tournaments, D. It gets pretty packed and loud.
Yeah, I used to bowl in college, and we were one of the louder teams also. It's all, screaming, and like by end of the weekend, like you have no voice, and it's always packed and exciting.
Diana, a question for you here because we just see the two reigning singles state champions from a year ago, Robert Vader of Iola, Scandinavia. You just missed that spare over on lane 6. Stephanie Zagar picked hers up over on lane 8. You've won a tournament or two in your career. When you come in as the defending champ, how does that mentality change from when you're just trying to be the competitor going in and getting it?
Yeah, it's very hard because you have when you don't have any titles, you have nothing to lose, really. So you just go in there, you just want to do your best, and if you bowl good, you bowl good, But when you're defending champion, you have this extra pressure and you have this expectation, and it's like, so like subconsciously, like you want to defend your title, so it's just extra pressure. So that's what they're feeling.
Stephanie doing her best to do just that with a strike over on lane 7, and Robert Vader responds with a strike of his own after an open frame in frame 1. It is Christopher Richardson, a senior from Kimberly, as the number 2 seed. He'll take the approach over here on lane 6 after a strike in frame 1. Autumn Morawski, the number 2 seed from Kenosha Indian Trail, had an open frame with a split in frame 1. She's on the approach over on lane 8 with a delivery. That's a good ball and a strike for Autumn Morawski as we get it going. Semifinals of our singles championships. Winners will move on for the championship match. Waiting in the wings, number 1 seed Mackenzie Phillips of West Bend East for the girls, and number 1 seed Ian Yost of Omro for the boys. Richardson with a couple of strikes over on lane 6. Diana, talk a little bit about Storm and what they've meant here for the bowlers, not just this weekend, but for you throughout your career as well.
Well, so I actually signed with Storm last year, like right before COVID hit.
Good timing.
Yeah, so, and I was looking forward to many years with them and represent them, and, COVID happened, so everything was canceled in 2020, so I couldn't really represent them, so I was very, upset. So now, luckily, things are coming back slowly. We had our first PWBA Tour swing in January, which I felt like I hadn't bowled in forever because, bowling was gone for a whole year.
Yeah.
And it just felt like lifetime. So I did okay. One of the events I finished 6th, but obviously I want to win every time I put my shoes on. But Storm has been amazing. It's just amazing what they do for the bowling industry. So shout out to Bill and Barb Chrisman.
Autumn Morawski with an open frame on lane 7. That's now two of her first 3 frames in this semifinal match. Open frames in 1 and 3. She's having a tough time figuring out lane 7. Meanwhile, the boys' defending champ Robert Vader crushes a strike. That's 2 in a row for Vader after a single pin spare missed in frame number 1. A lot of strikes between the guys over on Lanes 5 and 6. Stephanie Zagar, defending girls state champ with a strike. A powerful one at that with a fist bump over on lane 8.
So just an interesting note from a technological perspective. For some reason the interface has just left the building here on our machine, but it looks like we're still live. So let's just continue on as we normally would. I'm going to keep pressing the space bar because the shots seem to be working when I switch.
Okay.
Actually, no, I just lied about that. So I may need to take a small break, ladies and gentlemen.
That's all right, Emil. Diane and I can hold down the fort for you.
Yep.
Enjoying some high school bowling here, the state championships at Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley, just outside of Green Bay. Stephanie Zagar with a third strike in a row.
Yep.
Over on lane 7. It's 3 in a row for Robert Vader as he worked into the 4th frame over on lane 5 as well.
All right, so it looks like I will have to shut it down briefly, folks. I'm going to get this back up as quickly as we can. Right now, Christopher Richardson with 3 in a row. He's stepping up in the 4th frame. Vader on a 3-bagger as well. And let's hurry up so we won't miss this match. Back in a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you bearing with us that minor technical difficulty. Thanks, Jax. Appreciate that as well. So, what you missed, a couple of frames. Most importantly in our boys match, an open frame in the 5th for Christopher Nelson on that 4-bagger. Meanwhile, Robert Vader took care of a 10-pin in the 5th frame. We've seen him a couple times kind of start and stop, almost what they call a balk, not only in baseball but in bowling as well. But he has regathered himself and taken care of the spare. For Autumn, you just saw a grand strike, a late 7-pin go down in the 6th, 8 spare in the 7th. Zagar coming back on an open frame. Here she is in the 7th.
It's a nice strike from Stephanie Zagar. Diana also told us the most spectacular story I've ever heard, but unfortunately no one got to hear it on the stream, so that's too bad. We won't have to relive that. But
Wait, I did?
No, a fantastic match here. And Emil, I like what you mentioned there, that Robert Vader kind of gathering his composure as he's on the lane. If he starts and feels like he's uncomfortable, Diana, have you been in a situation like that where in a pivotal moment like that, you kind of start, it just doesn't feel right.
Yes.
You kind of take your moment, set yourself. That's what champs will know to do.
Yeah, I actually had like half of the season on a women's tour where I was just, I don't know, do you remember, Emil? Like I was just bulking all the time. I don't know if you remember. Yes. Yeah. So all my competitors that were bowling next to me, they were getting so mad and frustrated because you have to do like this lane courtesy, right? So it just didn't feel right. So I don't want to throw a bad shot. I want to make sure, everything feels perfect because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to bowling. So I've been in those shoes where, I'd rather just step back, gather myself again instead of wasting a shot. So, and I think that's what he's going through. He just feels a little uncomfortable, a little extra pressure. So he's just taking his time.
And it is his 3rd game here in the singles competition in the Stepladder final. So, it could be wearing down a little bit as there's been a lot of bowling all weekend long. It is early for high school kids to be able to get out of bed. And
for me also. I'm not a morning person.
I saw your smorgasbord of caffeine that you strolled up here with.
Yes, I'm on a caffeine overload right now.
I did want to mention is Christopher Richardson of Kimberly is over on lanes 5 and 6 right now, coming off of a spare heading into frame number 7. The Kimberly Papermakers last night, runners-up in the Division I boys basketball state championships, which took place down in Oshkosh. So Kimberly had a heck of a run. They have been a high school sports powerhouse in Wisconsin across so many different sports, from 2014 to 17, 4-time back-to-back state football champions.
Wow.
They had a massive winning streak to the Papermakers during that run. I mentioned boys basketball, really something that they're starting to excel in now as well, reaching all the way to the state championship game last night where they fell to Wauwatosa East. But Kimberly and Christopher Richardson here just living up to that championship standard that's been set. Kimberly's just outside of Appleton on your way up toward this Green Bay area on the east side of the state. And it's one of the booming areas in Wisconsin, and they are proving it in all their high school sports achievements. That's
impressive stuff. That's a impressive list for one school.
It sure is. They are
Uh-oh.
the big dogs. But Richardson has a tough time with this spare in frame 7. That's an open. He's got a 140 now, Emil, as he sits here with 3 frames to go. And Robert Vader, who has struggled more in this match than we've seen throughout the day so far, is working off a spare in the 6. So if he's able to convert here, a strike would be big for Vader over on lane 6.
Yeah, he's not out of it by any stretch. And
No.
obviously, from what we've seen from him thus far, he can strike with the best of them. And I expect nothing but a great shot coming up here. 7th frame.
A lot of pin action, but it was a little light coming into the pocket, and he leaves that 8 pin in the back.
Yeah, he might be starting to see a little carry down. This is the 3rd match, and obviously he's been involved in each and every one, so he's kind of fighting his own carry down and then what his opponents have been doing as well.
Stephanie Zagar has figured out a lane over on 9. She has actually struck in frames 9, frame 7, and frame 3 over on that lane. It had a 9 count along with a spare in frame 5, so she's bowling pretty well over on lane 8. We'll see if she can close it out over here on 7. Vader, single pin spare. Got to come across the lane to get it, and he does so.
Diana, 2-pin match between Autumn and Stephanie here, and you've been in pretty close matches.
Yeah, I'm nervous. Like, I'm sweating right now. I love when the matches are so close, so everything comes down to a 10th frame. So let's see what Stephanie does.
The defending girls state champion in the singles
strike.
competition a year ago.
Yep.
Clutch time strike.
Yeah, I was watching bowling on Friday, and they're bowling singles, and so I was watching the girls, so I'm watching Stephanie bowl, and I'm like, her face looks very familiar. I know their last name, like, and she throws it amazing. What's going on? So her dad came up to me. He's like, she's actually Ryan Zagar's sister. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know him because my school bowled against him in college. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Shout out to Ryan.
Yep.
And the entire Zagar family, and Vader now with a 2-8-10, and that's a 2-pin match at the moment.
That's a tough one for the defending boys single state champ, Myola Scandinavia.
Well, she has forced an automatic double from Autumn no matter what happens. Speaking of Stephanie Zagar now, and Autumn will have to match, and then obviously the fill shot will depend on what Stephanie may leave here.
It's like a Hall of Fame quarterback in a 2-minute drill, Emil. You just don't want to have Stephanie with a chance to win if you're
That's
a
pretty
competitor.
much it, man.
Robert Vader, get every pin you can here. Got to take the 2 for sure. He does so. It's an open frame in the 8th. He's got a 151. That's a tight match in the boys' competition here because Christopher Richardson of Kimberly's coming off an open in the 7th with a 140.
Wow.
Stephanie finishes with 4 in a row. A strike on 8, 3 in a row on 7 for a score of 212.
That is how you get it done.
It's a great finish.
In the 10th frame, and again, now it's just up to Autumn. But first, Christopher Richardson, he's got an opening, I should say, and a big strike in the 8th frame.
Big shot for Christopher Richardson. Finished 3rd in District 8A with a 90% fill percentage on the year, 61% strike percentage.
Autumn, first one in the 10th. She needs the first 2 and 9 to win.
Wow.
She's got the first one.
This is exciting. Wow.
Yeah, this is our closest match of the day by far.
And the way things are setting up, it looks like Richardson and Vader will be as close, if not closer as well. We're at the point where the spectators who are in the building are now quiet on every shot.
Richardson in the 9th over on 5. Ooh, nothing quiet about that strike. 2 in a row.
Here's the must-have strike for Autumn.
Gotta have it.
Looks good. Oh.
Messenger take out that 10. No,
Wow.
It stays glued in the corner. Oh. Excruciating way that this is going to culminate.
Wow.
Wow.
Stephanie Zagar back in the title match.
Wow. That was a good ball by Autumn Morawski.
That's one of those, if it's a half board to the right, a half board to the left. That pin could carry. You just never know.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes in bowling. You can throw just absolutely perfect shot and get 9, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So all you can do is just make sure you throw the best shot, and if they fall your way, they fall your way. If not, then you move on and you learn for next time.
It ends up as a 2-0-3 for Autumn Morawski.
It's a well-bowled match.
A very competitive match for the girls' semifinal match of the Stepladder final. That's $300 in scholarship money, courtesy of the Wisconsin State USBC, coming the way of Autumn Morawski. Close to the finish, no regrets about that ball that left that ringing 10 at the end.
And Jesse, speaking of ringing 10s, I think for the first time in the 3 matches we've watched now, Robert Bull, he has not left a ringing 10 at all. And so that shot right there was an excellent shot, and you saw the ball slide to defect. 6 goes around the 10. I think that's the worst thing I've seen, actually, because he may be in a situation where a ball change is near, but he's in the 10th frame.
Remember, Vader made this spare in the 9th frame of his last match, and he's able to execute it again here. So that's a max now 201 for Robert Vader, the defending boys singles state champion.
He's going to do what he can, obviously, to put the pressure here on Christopher. Diana, you've been in a lot of these situations, but he might be near a move, or at least maybe a ball change. But how do you approach the 10th frame when he's had the reaction that he's had at this point?
It's a very tough call. I've been in situations where I knew I had to make ball change, like in the middle of the game in the title match, if I want to win. And actually, that's how I won my very, very first title in Minnesota. I made the ball change.
Oh, good ball.
Yeah, I made a ball change, a very gutsy ball change, because, you know, when you're striking and you're lined up and then all of a sudden, like, pins don't go your way, it's so tough to ball change, in, you know, especially title match. So I always say go big. How do you say the saying?
Go big,
go big,
go
or
home.
go home.
Go big.
Yeah.
There it is.
So, but then in the 10th frame, it's such a tough call. So I would probably just stay with the same ball and just change a little bit ball roll and try to make it strike. So
I think that's what he's done, certainly. It didn't look like he made a ball change, but it looks like he's back in the zone to where obviously his ball is finishing and continuing through the 1-3. Big shot here.
It's gone silent at Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley as Vader's alone on the approach, and he crushes the strike. Big emotional celebration from the defending champ. If he can strike here to put a 201 on the board, puts Richardson in a position to have to get a good pin count at least.
That strike forced Richardson to mark
excellent
in the 10th frame.
That's all you can ask for in that position from Robert Vader.
Yeah, absolutely. That additional emotion, the fist pump there, because he knows how important that strike was and what Richardson now will have to do in order to win the match.
Vader trying to join Stephanie Zagar as defending champs in the singles competition a year ago that hoped to advance to the championship match here this morning in 2021. And announcements start to be made on the other end of the center.
There are the storm doubles are about to take place as well down on, I think, the high end of the building. Shout out to the Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley, Matt Orvis, Ryan Orvis, the entire staff here. Wonderful job. But I like, we talked about Robert and being patient and not throwing the anyway shot, as I like to call it. If you don't feel right, hey, take a step back. You've got a lot of time. You know, no shot clock. It's not an actual TV show. We're on Bowlstream TV, but it's not TV. So he's got some time because this shot is immensely important.
There it is. 29 in the 10th frame. That's not too shabby for Robert Vader. Salvaging a good 200 there. And like you said, Emil, it's going to make Christopher Richardson work here in the 10th frame.
yeah, and sometimes actually having a mark can be tougher than strike. You know, when you leave a 10 pin, it's such an easy spare, but when you know you have to make it to win, oof, it can be the hardest spare ever.
Yeah, and Jesse and I briefly talked about that a little bit as well. And when you need a spare to win a match or a title, it can be just much more difficult.
Richardson.
It won't matter. It won't matter here.
Beautiful.
3 in a row, 8, 9, 10. Bang, bang, bang.
Chris Richardson is moving on to the finals.
All seniors in our championship matches here today. It's going to be the number 2 seed Christopher Richardson of Kimberly taking on number 1 seed Ian Yost of Omro in the boys singles championship match. And for the girls, it'll be senior Stephanie Zagar, the defending champ from Kenosha Bradford, taking on the number 1 seed Mackenzie Phillips, a senior from West Bend East. Emotions will be high.
Jesse, I know you obviously have a beat on Wisconsin high school bowling. Are there any rivalries among schools that we should be looking forward to? I think you mentioned one a little bit earlier.
I'm looking forward to the Division I title match today because, the Division I title match because it's 2 teams from District 1 that are familiar with one another. The Mugwanago squad and the Menominee Falls team going at it. And coincidentally, both teams nicknamed the Indians. So it'll be kind of fun. Indians versus Indians in the Division I boys team final match later. But it's always fun when you get 2 teams that are familiar with one another. At this state level, you get sometimes like Sun Prairie, Oak Creek, Kenosha, Bradford. Those are some of the big powerhouse schools. So it's fun to see the best of the best go at it, but it's also fun to see those rivalries that you often get to see during the regular season and at your district events, being able to go at it. 2 teams that, you hear them across the center when you're at these big matches, and you're like, oh, that team again. They're the obnoxious ones. Or you run into somebody in the paddock area as you're taking care of your balls before, and you're just a little irritated by somebody or someone you've become friends with as well. That's part of the fun rivalry that you get, too, is, you're familiar with some of your opponents. You know the coaches, the competitors. And I'm really looking forward to that particular match a little bit later today in the boys team Division I final.
As Jesse mentioned earlier, we welcome in the top seed Ian Yost in the boys' side and the top seed on the girls' side, Mackenzie Phillips. As we get set for our title matches, we are joined by Diana Zabyalova, PWBA champion representing Storm Nation as well. My name is Emil Williams Jr. As we join again with ESPN Madison's Jesse Nelson. While we have a quick moment, if you have a few questions in the chat for Diana Z, there's not a lot of time in between matches. Both players will get a few shots, but if we have a couple and we can squeeze them in, I'd love to be able to help you, the viewer, talk with Diana as well. I've asked her probably 1,000 questions over our time together on tour, so I will limit my question asking. Outside of, I know you've gotten into the personal training business.
I did.
How is that going so far?
It's going well. So, 2020 was a very rough year for literally everyone. So, bowling was canceled, everything was canceled, and I was just sitting at home and thinking, what can I do? What if this happens again? Because I bowl for a living. So it was a very tough year, and I decided to just kind of have a plan B. And I've always been passionate about fitness. Like, I'm all about fitness, being an athlete and all that. So I decided to become a certified personal trainer. So I applied for this thing, got a bunch of books. So I want to be also an elite trainer. What that means is you have many different specializations. So I just passed my first exam, so I'm already a certified personal trainer. I'm now studying to become a nutritionist. I'm going to also study to become a strength and conditioning coach and transformation specialist. So I'm still studying right now. It's going really well. And I have some vision and plans for the future to combine fitness and bowling and just kind of inspire the kids to, be stronger. Like, because when you join the tour, you have to be strong. We bowl so many games in such a short period of time. We bowl all day. Like, I think we're one of the, if not the only sport that just competes all day long. Mm-hmm. So when you have to be strong, it's just so, like, physically grueling. So, so that's my plan, is to help the future bowlers.
I thought I was cool calling basketball and bowling in the same weekend. You got a lot going on. That's incredible.
Yep.
You talked a little earlier about you were an athlete in a number of different sports growing up. Were there any sports specifically that you think that you participated in that helped kind of with your eventual conditioning into becoming such a successful bowler? We talk about other high school sports and athletes that are involved in multiple sports and how beneficial that can be.
Well, when I was a kid, I just loved sports. I just wanted to run around, do something. So I was doing many different things. So I was skateboarding, I was playing tennis. I was dancing, playing piano. I don't know if that counts as a sport, but I was doing everything I could. And bowling was just something that interested me the most, and it was so challenging. And so I quit everything at age of 15, I think. So I decided to just focus on bowling, and that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So
Got you to where you wanted to be. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Chasing down the dream.
Yeah.
That's
But
so
however,
cool.
sometimes I do wish I stuck with karate a little bit. Like, there was something so cool about it. Like, just fighting. Like, I don't know. I would never quit bowling, obviously, but if
that
I
would be
could
the last thing I would expect you to say.
Really? Are
Like
you
that.
scared now?
I am, actually, because you might be looking at a black belt over there.
A chop is a good thing in karate, and bowling not so much, though. Hey, we're underway in our championship matches, guys. Let's do it.
How about that?
Singles State Championships, Wisconsin High School Bowling 2021. Our championship matches. And the number 1 seeds are on the lanes first. That's a strike on lane 7 for the number 1 seed for the girls, senior Mackenzie Phillips. She threw, Diana, a 739 series.
That is very impressive.
That was in the qualifying round on Friday. I believe from looking at the numbers, she was the only competitor to throw a 700 series, especially on Friday. Yeah, that was fantastic with the 3 on Friday. Threw a 600 in the second round of qualifying. That was more than enough to earn her the number 1 seed from West Bend East High School, the Suns, the mascot of West Bend East. And here's the defending 2020 girls state champ, Stephanie Zagar, and she delivers a strike on lane 8 to begin the girls championship match. This is how I love to see it, Diana. You got someone who's the number 1 seed trying to hold it down this year, win her title, and you've got the defending champ as a senior versus senior matchup. Oh, I love the drama and the storyline going on for this girls match.
Yeah, and like I was saying, so Stephanie is defending champion, so she feels that pressure because she's defending champion. But at the same time, she's been in this situation before and she's won before, so she has a little bit of experience.
So the girls both strike in frame 1. The boys, we saw Ian Yost with a spare on a 9 count. Stephanie Zagar with a strike on 7. And now stepping up Christopher Richardson of Kimberly with a chance for a spare. Couple of pins on the left side of the lane. He goes across it and knocks them both out. So spares in frame 1 for the boys. Ian Yost of Omro High School, 708 series in his first round of qualifying on Friday, 648 on Saturday for a grand total 1356 in his 6 games of qualifying. Heck of a 6-game run for Ian Yost.
It's a pretty good block. Or, of course, 6 games total, but way to put together, 2 really good blocks to get to this point.
Now, looking at it statistically, Yost getting hot at the right time here heading into this championship as the number 1 seed. He did finish in District 8A. He was 5th in overall fill with 89% on the year, 56% strike percentage. So you look at his competitor, Richardson, he's got a 90% pill. They're about the same in that category. But he throws a little better strike percentage. Richardson, 61.5% strikes on the season. So that 5% advantage, we'll see if that comes into play here with 10 frames to go in their season.
You love to hear numbers like that, especially from the strike percentage. Generally means you got pretty good carry, whatever it is that you're doing. So that's a good sign.
Mackenzie Phillips picked up a spare.
Yeah, give her credit, too. That's a bucket, especially early on in the championship match. That could go either way. We talked about, clutch spares, but anytime a bucket is up, there's so many ways to miss it, and so good to see her knock that down early, especially against this early double from Stephanie.
Mackenzie Phillips, lane 7. That's a strike. Mackenzie is no stranger to pressure situations, Emil. Her team, West Bend East, won the 2020 Division II Girls Team Championship. They won the whole thing last year, so she's back here. The team not in the championship match later today, but here's Mackenzie as a senior trying to go out winning a state title on the singles end of things.
Yeah, I think it's pretty impressive. So the experience that we've talked about today, many of these players obviously having competed in previous years, their teams having success, them having success in singles. Stephanie, the prime example of that right now, is the defending champion in singles.
It's 3 in a row to start this championship match for the defending champ. Ian Yost. Oh, that was a good ball, and just nothing doing on these 10 pins today, Emil. Man, this hurts.
Hey, D, in your opinion, your career, think about all the moments. The top seed argument, would you rather be the top seed or would you rather have a match under your belt in the stepladder? Where do you fall on that? And what advice would you give to the top seeds who are here now?
Yeah, so I've won from being number 1 seed and not number 1 seed. I think it's tougher when you're number 1 seed because you don't have any matches under you. So it's, you're coming in fresh, and whoever you're bowling against already had at least a game on. So they're familiar with the lanes. So as much as I like to lead tournaments and be number 1 seed, a lot of times I'm like, no, that's like a bad luck. So I don't mind being like number 2 or 3 seed. Yeah.
Look at that pin action for Stephanie Zagar on the last strike. You heard the big ovation from the fans behind us. And that's a good response, though, here from Mackenzie Phillips, coming right back with a double of her own. Yost over on 5 leaves 3 pins in a group over on the left side. We haven't seen a strike yet in the boys match.
Yeah, I was going to say, and in the boys match, I mean, I feel that for Ian, who, in his case, the top seed coming over and what Diana just talked about, he has some time to kind of figure things out because Chris hasn't struck yet. And so, he can play around, not necessarily play around a little bit, but he can feel a little bit at ease. It's like, hey, I haven't thrown a strike yet, but my opponent hasn't either.
Could be a battle of who doesn't convert a spare first in the boys. And Yost almost, that was dicey when he was able to pick it up.
Yeah, that was split by a hair right there.
How about Mackenzie Phillips over on lane 7? That one a little light, right of the pocket. Leaves 2, makeable spare.
Dee, we had a question for you.
All right. Is it related to the hair, like how I did my hair this morning? Or
Yeah, I wish we had a boot camp because you are looking fly.
Well, because I knew I was going to do this, this morning. So I was thinking, how do I, because normally I have my hair up.
Right.
So
It is a little different, right?
Yeah, it is. So I was like, how do I do my hair so that these headphones don't mess up my hair?
We've had that conversation right in the past.
Yeah.
Nice pair for Mackenzie Phillips, by the way. And our first strike in the boys match, Christopher Richardson of Kimberly gets it over on lane 6.
Let's see. The only question was from Sean Walkner, which we all know. Hey, Sean, appreciate you tuning in. Dee, when you get a moment, what was your favorite collegiate tournament to compete in and favorite collegiate memory? And then you can answer right after Stephanie's shot.
Defending girls state champion Stephanie Zagar, lane 8. And that's 5 in a row to start the championship match.
Yeah, that's an easy one. So I bowled for Weber International, and we won the national championship my second year. But my senior year, I qualified for the intercollegiate singles championship, and that was right after my team didn't bowl very well in the national championship. So it was my very last event representing Weber, and I shot 289 to 90 on TV, and I won, and I raised a trophy for Weber, and that's definitely my favorite memory from college.
Stephanie Zagar looking to make that kind of memories as well at the next level, but right now looking to repeat. Can she get 6 in a row?
Oh, that one came up too high on the head pin there, and this is it's a toughie.
Greek Church, it's makeable, but she's not looking to make it right now.
Get as many pins as you can with this one, I think, has got to be the mentality. Maybe you can get 4 if you get some good action.
I will say, it has nothing to do with what we're watching now, but I've seen a Greek Church made late to win a match. It actually was late last year at a youth event. It was Jennifer Laredo, who now bowls at Vanderbilt. Made the Greek Church, then had to strike to win by 1.
Shut up.
In the 10th frame.
Unbelievable. Stephanie takes the 3, and that was a good move there. Get the pin count. Oh, no, and an open frame for Yost, who hasn't been able to strike yet today. He had 3 left over on the left side, and he just didn't quite get it over enough to get all 3. Boop, boop, boop in a row. Instead, he only gets 2.
Yeah, and that's what we, and I feel just 2 frames ago, right, I said, well, Ian should feel comfortable because Christopher hadn't struck yet. Well, Christopher's since thrown a double, and now Ian has opened.
Yeah, also on the guy's side, they had a few two-handers, and I was just noticing that it's going to be tougher on the guy's side because they kind of bowled on different parts of the lane, so the lanes change a little bit more drastic than the girls' side because girls tend to stay in the same area. So that's what's happening on the guy's side. And Ian being a one-handed, and he's actually farther right than the rest of the guys were. So he's struggling with the lane play a little bit.
It's a great point, Diana.
Awesome observation. Something I hadn't even really looked at with all the two-handers. You overlook that. It's just so normal now to see all the two-handers. I remember when we first started doing this with Craig Elliott 6 years ago, it was like, wow, there's a two-hander. Look at that. Now almost everybody's throwing that way in these competitions.
Yeah, I mean, guys obviously like Jason Belmonte, Osku, Anthony Simonson are changing the game from the younger generation, seeing two-handed style very early, much earlier. And that certainly has added a little bit of flair for some people. Still not liking it so much, but I think people are getting better about that overall.
Seventh frame pressure strike for Mackenzie Phillips of West Bend East over on lane 7. So she's got a 127 in the 6 to the 141 for Stephanie Zagar. Stephanie opened, and Mackenzie was able to get that strike in the 7th frame. So if Stephanie doesn't strike here, Mackenzie's still got a chance to put a few together and potentially win the state championship against the defending champion.
Well, no doubt. This one's not over by a long stretch here. Still 247 available for Mackenzie.
Stephanie shot on 8.
Uh-oh.
Gonna get it? Gonna get it? No, it's a 9 count again. That dang 10-pin all day. 10-pin needs their coffee this morning.
Your distaste for 10 pins is like my distaste for 8 pins. And I haven't seen an 8-pin yet, and I'll probably just jinx somebody. So it's coming soon, I know it.
Christopher Richardson, hey, he's got 3 in a row. How about 4? Yes, sir. Heating up, Kimberly.
Well, he looks pretty dialed in now. Ball going through the pins the way you want it. And now if you're in, you may start to think, okay, I don't have a choice but to figure out something because I got a strike to keep up.
Stephanie Zagar with a champion's spare over on lane 8. Smooth and calm. She knocks out that 10-pin.
Diana, did we just talked about Ian and some of the things he may be experiencing on the lane. I was going to say, I think that was his best shot of the match, but did you see a place or an area down lane where he might be looking to target from a breakpoint perspective?
From this particular angle, I can't really see the boards, but it looks like he moved in just a little bit, like from the 3rd and 4th frame, because he was missing right. But right now, it looks like he has a good ball reaction. But he has to strike now.
Best shot of the match here.
Stephanie Zagar is clicking. Started with 5 in a row, had a split, then a 9 count with a good ball and a 10-pin left, and now she's got another strike. That's a 161 in the 7th with a strike in the 8th. And Mackenzie Phillips starting to feel like it's almost strike or bust on every ball here the rest of the way as she enters in the 8th frame.
And to Ian's point, looked like exactly what you just talked about on that last shot. So 3 in a row for Ian and Mackenzie.
Yeah, those are nice adjustments for Ian Yost over on 5 and 6. Putting the pressure on Christopher Richardson to come up clutch here and continue his run with 4 in a row. 7-pin left for Mackenzie Phillips. How about Richardson over on 6? 5 in a row.
Tell you what, man, that was power and speed right there. That's what got those pins to fall, because the 7-pin maybe would have stood if that was me bowling.
I tell you what, Emil, Kimberly football won those 4 straight championships. They had 4 in a row. Well, here Christopher Richardson's now got 5 in a row. Strikes as he heads into the 8th frame in the driver's seat for a potential single state championship.
Yeah, unfortunate miscue there for Mackenzie. Single pin, open frame in the 8th. Diana, I think we all know, if you're a bowling fan, you know how important single pins are. But
oh yes,
talk about it from the professional aspect and what spare shooting means overall at that level. Big shot for Richardson again.
Yeah, in my mind, spare shooting is actually more important than striking, because everybody strikes, but if you cannot make your spares, it's going to cost you titles and matches and everything. So you have to practice the spares, and that's something it's such a boring thing to do, but it's so important. And this week I've seen a lot of 9 misses. So my advice is definitely make sure when you go home you practice your spares. Definitely. And actually, my very first title that I bowled the USBC Queens in 2013, I bowled against Leanne Hosenberg. And I actually won because she missed 2 single pins. So that just shows how important spare shooting is.
One of the phrases we always used to say on our team, spares don't win you a match, but they will lose you a match if you don't convert them.
Yep.
You need the strikes to win,
Yep.
but if you miss those spares when you do have them, that's when you're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
And speaking of trouble, both McKenzie, Mr. Double Wood in the 9th, Ian Yost opening in the 8th. And so we take it over to Stephanie Zagar and can pretty much put a bow on what would be back-to-back titles. Bang!
She got it there. Celebration out on the lane for Stephanie Zagar. She is going to go back-to-back as the girls singles state champion to close out her high school bowling career.
So impressive.
Remarkable showing today. Came in as the number 3 seed in the Stepladder final. She's going to go on and win it. And why not make it a strike for good measure? Stephanie Zagar, your 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Girls Singles State Champion.
Impressive stuff, man.
Ian Yost with an open in the 9th frame, which means Christopher Richardson of Kimberly working on 6 strikes in a row. Steps on for his 9th frame here in a moment. Well on his way to being crowned a state champion. Zagar, how many more can she get in a row here to close it out? Well, that's a 7 count, but it's more than enough already.
Yep.
Richardson, how about 7 in a row? He's going to leave Double Wood on the left side. Still in a comfortable position. Stephanie Zagar, final shot. And it's an open frame. Of course, it is the 10th. She did hit the big strike to start it. Stephanie finishes with a 237. Which means it's time for Mackenzie Phillips to step up and close it out. That's a good spare over on 6 for Christopher Richardson to convert. So he can max out now with a 256 if he were to strike the rest of the way.
You know, for McKenzie, I thought she bowled a really good game overall. A couple of hits here and there that carry, and obviously, you know, the last couple of frames, the opens really took her out of the match. But you know, congratulations. Certainly, the number 1 seed took a lot to even get to that point. But Stephanie Zagar is the player today.
Meanwhile, Richardson strikes to start the 10th. And that's going to be more than enough for Christopher Richardson of Kimberly to be named the 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Boys Singles State Champion.
And if you look back at what Christopher had to do, he was in a battle with the defending champion, Robert Vader, and ultimately able to sneak past Richardson, struck in the 10th when he needed it. And here he is getting a chance to take a victory lap.
Final ball for Mackenzie Phillips with a strike. Great performance. West Bend East's Mackenzie Phillips finishes with a $400 scholarship from the Wisconsin State USBC. 2nd place. Heck of a run for Mackenzie Phillips. Just fantastic bowling throughout the weekend. 739 in qualifying on Friday. Total pin count of 1339 over the 6 games. And a 184 here in the championship match. Richardson spares. He ends with a 246.
Talking about a game to go out on, to win a title with. Is that something you keep track of, DZ? Like, obviously you prefer to win titles, but do you know, like, what's the highest game score you've won a title or?
290. That was in a intercollegiate singles championship. Yep.
Yeah, that's you
I
dominated
struck
that.
a lot.
you dominated that.
Yep. But I don't really, as long as I win, that's all that matters. Obviously, you want to win with, a big, big game. But win is a win.
Nice shot for Ian Yost there. That's a small highlight. He'll be able to go back and rewatch here on Bullstream TV. And I think they used to call that like someone's teeth back in the day, those like weird leaves like that when you in old bowling games and like old graphics and stuff like that.
Like that old arcade game where you'd like throw the ball at the teeth, try to knock him out.
That was a good highlight. I believe it was the 2-4-10 to make in the 10th frame.
That's a heck of a spare to close it out for sure.
I feel like, no matter what happens, right, whenever we get to the final frame or final shot, something generally goes down.
There will be an awards presentation to follow here once Yost wraps up. So we will bring you the presentation, which will take place on the lanes right out in front of us for all of the singles competitors today. Again, scholarship money goes to every competitor that made it to the TV finals here this morning. The fifth-place finishers get a $100 scholarship courtesy of the Wisconsin State USBC, and then it works its way incrementally by the 100 all the way up to the first-place winner who gets a $500 scholarship. So congratulations to all the bowlers here this morning. Yost finishes with a 170. Christopher Richardson of Kimberly is your Wisconsin High School Bowling Singles Boys State Champion in 2021.
I know, Jesse, you've got some presentations to handle, but before you go, Diana, kind of any final thoughts on what you saw today? Some great singles competition, obviously, and able to be in the booth a little bit as well. Great to see you, great to hear from you, but final thoughts for you.
Yeah, I'm in a way sad because when I was growing up, I didn't have this. I'm like, I wish I was, 15, 16 again and, kind of come to U.S. and, bowl all this stuff. But it's just amazing how much talent is out there. And it's just nowadays kids, like, they throw it so good. So I want to know what they're eating, what parents are feeding them nowadays so that I can, be like them. But it's just very impressive. And congratulations to everyone that bowled really, really well. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Thanks, Diana. This is awesome.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. So, Dee, I know you were watching a little bit. Then you've got to run. Jesse, you've got to handle your business. So you go ahead and do that, and he'll be back with us shortly. I am going to set up for the presentation and then also move some cameras over so we can begin our team competition, which probably will begin in somewhere between the next 20 to 30 minutes. So, Diana, appreciate you, and I hope to see you much sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get a big round of applause for all of our singles finalists here today. Great bowling all morning. Time now for our awards presentation. And again, a reminder that every bowler this morning does receive a scholarship courtesy of the Wisconsin State USBC scholarship money, anywhere from $100 for the fifth place winner. The fourth place winner gets $200, third place $300, second place $400, and our state champions receive a $500 scholarship courtesy of Phil Laporte and the Wisconsin State USBC. When your name is called, please come up to the approach. For the girls, finishing in fifth place from Kenosha Tremper, Rayanne Calsto. Finishing in fourth place from Sheboygan Falls, Melanie Hilbert. Finishing in third place from Kenosha Indian Trail, Autumn Morowski. The state runner-up from West Bend East, Mackenzie Phillips. And your 20 what year is it? 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club Girls Singles State Champion, back-to-back, Stephanie Zagar. Let's get one more round of applause for all of our girls finalists. And now for the boys. Finishing in 5th place from Appleton North, Luke Winter. Fourth place from Menominee Falls, Brendan Zindars. Finishing in 3rd place, last year's champion from Iola, Scandinavia, Robert Vader. Your state runner-up from Omro, Ian Yost. And your 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club Boys Singles State Champion from Kimberly, Christopher Richardson. And let's get one last round of applause for all of our boys finalists for the singles competition this morning. All right, everybody, stick around. The girls team competition is coming up next. Monona Grove and Peshtigo in the Division II championship match. Head over to your practice lanes to begin.
All right, folks, that'll do it. The singles competition is complete. Congratulations to Christopher Richardson of Kimberly High School and Stephanie Zagar of Kenosha Bradford. Those are your singles champions, and you can watch it all right here, of course, on Bowl Stream TV. Want to thank Diana Zavyalova, Jesse Nelson, Roger Dolphin, the entire crew and staff here. We'll be back with you momentarily. Get set up for the team competition. That event is right on the Bowl Stream Team YouTube channel. Scheduled to begin now at approximately 11 on YouTube, but as soon as lanes are oiled and bowlers are on the lanes, we'll get the broadcast started for you. So we'll see you in just a moment for more action. This is the 2021, almost did what Jesse did because he didn't know what year it was. The 2021 Wisconsin High School Bowling Club State Championships live on Bowl Stream TV.